Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. Today we're going to showcase Before Watchmen #1. This is the Minutemen by Darwyn Cooke. This is a 6-issue series and I'm talking about the first issue. This came out in 2013. Now, I just read it. I woke up this morning nice and early, beautiful day, Monday, Memorial Day. My wife was sleeping in, so I went downstairs, made myself a pot of coffee, delicious coffee, and I said, I'm going to read this finally. I bought it in 2013, and for whatever reason, I've been avoiding it. Well, not whatever reason. I know exactly why. I love The Watchmen. I was there when The Watchmen came out. I bought it monthly off the stands, and I loved it. I remember talking with my comic shop dealer. I always call him my comic shop dealer, like my drug dealer. And at this time, I think I was working in the comic store. And my coworkers, we were talking about it. We went to a retailer's convention, you know, for people who own comic stores. We were talking with DC, and that's the same convention where I met Neil Adams and his daughter. And I remember just excited talking about how much I loved it. We were talking about details. There was another guy who was like explaining like little things that I didn't catch. I loved it every month. And then I remember there was like a big long wait before the last issue. It came out late. I loved The Watchmen. It was such a big deal. And that made me a lifelong Alan Moore fan. And I've been very loyal to Alan Moore, even though he kind of does some things that I disagree with. Like he canceled that 1963 series because DC ended up buying ABC Comics and everything like that, so we stopped work. I thought that was pretty crummy because all of his writers took that job thinking that there was going to be trade paperback deals and stuff like that, but it was never collected or anything because it was never finished, which I thought was crummy. Finish your deal. I understand your principles, but you know, you also have principles and obligations to your coworkers. But anyway, so I love Alan Moore, but I understand he's kind of hard to work with. So out of loyalty, I bought all of these. But I couldn't bring myself to read them. I was just like afraid they were going to be like just cash grabs, you know. So I was like, I don't want to read them. I don't want to read them. I put them all in a box, and I put them on the back of my to read pile, and I have 11 boxes of unread comics. So you know, I'll be dead before I get to the back to those comics. So that was my compromise. I will read them, just not now. Okay, now the Watchman TV show comes out, and I didn't want to watch it right away. And then the more I knew about it, I was like, oh alt-right Nazis. Alt-right, what? It's about racism. And I'm like, what the hell is this, The Watchmen? It's not even it's not even set in New York. It has nothing to do with like the Cold War era politics. I was just like, oh, this is just a cash grab. So that just made Before the Watchmen, you know, I buried it and forgot about it. Now, I don't know why, but this caught my eye, and I'm like, well, I trust Darwyn Cooke, and you know what? I'm just gonna read it. So for whatever reason, I took this out, and I loved it. Oh my God, did I love it! I think I needed to put all my like apprehensions away and change my, you know, my perspective. I don't know, but you know, I trust Darwyn Cooke. I've always liked Darwyn Cooke. I love the New Frontier, and I just read it. I read the one shot of Dollar Bill, and I thought that was excellent. And then I read this next. For all I know, the rest of them are garbage. I don't know. I didn't read them yet. But anyway, I'm rambling. Let's take a look at this. So this is Before Watchmen, the Minutemen, #1 of 6. And I just love Darwyn Cooke. And Darwyn Cooke has since passed away since this. So what this is it's supposed to be the telling of the writing of his book Under the Hood. If you read The Watchmen, you know that Night Owl, the original Night Owl, wrote a tell-all book called Under the Hood, and it was like exposed all the secrets of the Minutemen and stuff like that. And so this is him writing the book. So it's not that book, but so good, so good. And look at the splash page. You know, what I do like is all this setup, it's slow panning and stuff like that. It's very reminiscent of The Watchmen, but I think Darwyn did a great job of reminding us that it's set in The Watchmen, paying homage to the Watchman style, but doing his own thing. Because if he just flat out did the 6 or was it 9 panel grid, I forget if it was 6 or 9 panels on every page, then it just wouldn't have, it would have been too much. So here we have, Hollis Mason, the Night Owl. He's old. He's with his dog Phantom. He already has the statue, and he's thinking about his book. And now it goes. He's talking to his agent. His agent's like, "What are you, crazy? You can't publish this book. What's everybody say? Freaky ad, falling skies." And then he dusts off the famous picture of the Watchmen. That was Dave Gibbons drew in the Watchmen, the Minutemen rather. And here we have, I just love that. That's the silhouette, Mothman. That's Dollar Bill, Night Owl, the comedian, Captain Metropolis. I hated that name as a kid. I've grown to love that name. The Silk Spectre and the Hooded Justice. Now, my favorite out of all these was the silhouette. And why? Because, like the original Boba Fett, you didn't know anything about him. You didn't know anything about Boba Fett, so you made it all up in your mind, and your mind was so much better than what they offered you. So to the point when, now we know everything about Boba Fett. He's an old fat man in armor, and he's not as cool as he was when I imagined him in my brain. So Silk Spectre, they kind of told us everything about Mothman, they told us he went crazy and whatever. But Silk Spectre, they just gave me enough that I was really interested in that character, but not enough to ruin her. So I filled it. She was my favorite of the Minutemen. So I got really nervous when Darwyn Cooke started talking about her. She's like obviously the main character is Hollis Mason, but every one of these characters gets a big deep dive, and we learn all about them, including the Silk Spectre. And I was like, oh no. But Darwyn Cooke, he's also a genius. That's a term that I don't use lightly. He fills in all the details about the Silk Spectre. And you know what? I'm not saying that I'm a genius, because I'm not. But it kind of fit in my head canon. It kind of fit with everything that I made up about her. And she's still my favorite. So here we have, cops going around looking for Hooded Justice. And everything fits with what Alan Moore did. And I now that I read this, and I'm rambling because I'm excited and I drank a lot of coffee. Now that I read this, I want to go back and see any articles about the editorial, because the dollar bill fit in the Watchmen. Nothing contradicts the canon, and everything in this, as far as I remember, fits the canon and doesn't contradict the dollar bill one shot. So I think the editorial did a really good job so far of tying this all together, and I love this. These two hoods are surrounded by the cops. Like, should we give in to the cops? No, we're gonna get executed. But Hooded Justice is coming. It's like, he's just one man. We could shoot our way through and then Hooded Justice just comes walking down here. The guy pees himself, and Hooded Justice just beats the crap. They don't even show. He throws him out the window. So this cop is like, he saw Hooded from the street. He saw Hooded Justice, and it scared the crap out of him. And here we have Sally Jupiter, the Silk Spectre, and I love this. They hired an actor to dress up as the Red Devil and stage a fake robbery, and she comes and beats him up, and then poses for all the pictures and stuff like that. So she's, at this point, she's a fake superhero. She's like, she has an agent. She's trying to, and that kind of fits in with everything that Alan Moore had. And I love this. The agent comes over and bribes the cops. The cop's like, oh, you're going to donate to the orphanage? Well, there's 4 times more kids in the orphanage, so we need 4 times. He's like, oh my God. So is it even worth it? Because they're not making any money doing this, because they have to pay off the cops. Because setting up a fake robbery and everything is a crime. And the cop's like, good day. And here we have Hollis Mason becomes the Night Owl for the first time, and he's a cop, and he's kind of conflicted, but he goes out and he wants to help people. And I like what he says. He goes, I did it because I wanted adventure. I wanted excitement. He was already helping people. He was already a good cop. So now, this is his first go. He breaks in. The people are robbing the bank, the armored car. He gets into the armored car. The guy shoots at him and kills this guy and he's shooting at him. He's kind of like fumbling along. I kind of like that. The inexperienced hero who does good. He fumbles along and then he's like, oh, I got to protect the innocent. So he jumps out of the car to help him. Why? Because he's a good guy. He's a good guy. And the car crashes and he saves the day. And here we have Eddie Blake, the comedian. I think one of Alan Moore's just most complicated, complex characters. Oh my God, you're conflicted with Eddie Blake. You love him, you hate him. Oh my God, sometimes on the same panel. I just think such a rich character. So here he is. He beats up all the guys that are causing problems in the bar. And what does he do? He takes the egg. The egg is disgusting, and he starts smashing everything. And then he robs the guy and leaves. Ha ha ha. He's supposed to be like a 16-year-old psychopath. And they're hinting that he had some childhood traumas, which doesn't contradict Alan Moore. It kind of fleshes him out a little bit, because Alan Moore never really talked about his childhood, but you don't just spring out of an egg. So something happened, you don't just put on a costume, call yourself the comedian, and beat the crap out of people. So something happened. So here we have, Mothman. And I never put this together because I always thought that the Night Owl was the Batman of the Minutemen, but it's the Mothman. So he was rich, eccentric, billionaire, inventor. Instead of Wayne Enterprises, like Bruce Wayne inherited his wealth and ran this like Wayne Enterprises, this comic book corporation that does everything but requires no time for Bruce Wayne to maintain it. He is an inventor, so he has all of these patents for different things. And one of the things, he was obsessed with flying, and he made this like flying suit. And I love this. It talks about how when he was testing his flying suit, he crashed and he hurt his spine, and he was never recovered from that. He's in constant pain. So he started taking aspirin and then painkillers and then morphine. And that was the beginning of his descent into his madness. He would drink all the time. He was always on painkillers, and he was always afraid. Is this time I jump off the building, am I going to fall to my doom? And he had to maintain his weight within 3 pounds because of the parameters of the suit. It was just so. Every time he flew, the fear inside him would swell a little bit. Basically, he needed something to help him. The common story is that Byron was the weak one, the one who cracked up. I see differently. Baron Lewis was the brave, like 10 men, and then he cracked up. So I love that. And then Dollar Bill. This is just like a short rehashing of the Dollar Bill one shot. He was a fake superhero that a bank hired to cash in on the popularity of superheroes, and then they would stage robberies, and he would go and beat them up, and then eventually he started stopping real robberies, and he's a good guy. That he was a good-looking guy who tried to become an actor, but he couldn't act, and then he got hired as the spokesmodel, thinking that this would be a good step into Hollywood, and then he would get a real acting job and blah blah blah. That didn't pan out, and now he's like the accidental superhero. But again, he's a good guy. He started out kind of like Peter Parker wanted to cash in, but he ended up becoming a good guy. And then this is why I started to get nervous. The Silk Spectre. And she's going after this guy who's stealing a carpet, and she's going into like the Chinatown and stuff like that. I'm like, why is she risking a carpet? And this is where I was like, oh no, it's going to come crashing down. Because up to this point, I really liked it. So she's jumping down, she's fighting, and I love this. This guy just beats the crap out of her. He's just kicking her around. And what does she do? She pulls out a knife and stabs him because she was losing the fight. She's a slip of a girl. She's a tiny little girl. She knows how to fight. She's very intelligent, but physics is physics. And then she opens up the car, and it's a kid in there. And I was like, oh, okay. And that becomes her thing. Without giving away too much, her personal mission is like saving children from like sex trafficking and kidnapping and exploitation and whatever, all that seedy stuff. Everybody else is like in it for the glory, like Captain Metropolis. They're talking about him. He's an ex-Marine, or I guess you're always a Marine, right? He's a Marine, and now he wants to do good. But he also wants the glory. He wants like everything. He wants the big headquarters. He wants the great team. Here he is like telling his butler, prepare everything. We're going on patrol, and we're gonna start a team. And okay, I'll get back to this. I'll get back to my thoughts, but here's a couple of pages of the pirate ship. I didn't read this because this is continued in Silk Spectre #1, but I'm reading the Minutemen, so I got to get all of the before Watchmen, put them in the right order to read that pirate thing. So anyway, what was my thoughts? Oh, Silk Spectre was in it to save children. She wanted to rescue kids from child slavery and all that stuff. He was a good guy, and he just craved more adventure. He just wanted to do more good. So he's, to me, Silk Spectre and Night Owl, Hollis Mason, were like the two good guys. Dollar Bill, he just wanted, basically, he wanted to cash in on his good looks, and he thought the best way to do that was to become an actor. That didn't pan out, and he became Dollar Bill, like, accidentally, you know. The Hooded Justice, I don't want to spoil anything. The comedian we know everything about. And who am I leaving out? Oh, Mothman. They made they fleshed him out. He was a good guy. He wanted to help. He was kind of like curious and good and brave, but like he succumbed to his own genius. I could rant and rave, but this is good. It only exists because the Watchmen exist, and that's fine. Comic books are like Legos. Somebody puts down a blue Lego, and then somebody else steps on a white Lego, and somebody steps on a yellow Lego, and next thing you know, you have a sculpture. But so good. I really, really enjoyed this. I'm excited now to read the others. I pulled them out of the back of the box, and I'll be checking them all out. They have good names. I mean, Brian Azzarello, I really like his stuff. Darwyn Cooke, I really love. I forget who did the Dollar Bill, and this is 2013, so this is before like DC became like all this identity politics and stuff like that, you know. So, and they really take their cues from Alan Moore. I think this was like, again, I thought this was going to be a cash grab, but it is a cash grab. Let's be honest. You know, comic books are a business. If they didn't think it was going to sell, they wouldn't have done it. But I think the artists. Maybe DC itself wanted a cash grab, but I think the artists treated it with love and respect to because Watchmen is a milestone. It's like it or not, it's a major part of comic book history. So I'm kind of touchy about stuff like that. Like I like Frank Miller doing revisits to The Dark Knight Returns kind of bothers me, even though he created it. I just don't like the sequels. They're not as good as the original, and I was like, how could any of these sequels or prequels be any good as the Watchmen? I'm like, after the Star Wars prequels kind of like diminished Star Wars in my eyes, like, and forget about the sequels. Forget about it. There is no more Star Wars. Star Wars doesn't exist. I don't watch the TV shows anymore. I don't, Star Wars is 3 movies. That's it. Star Wars is 3 movies. It existed in my childhood. It was a lot of fun. I still like it, and I just pretend nothing else exists. I told you, I'm in a bubble. I still listen to like classic rock. I listen to punk rock. I listen to heavy metal. There's really no more new music. I'm officially that old guy now. Marvel stopped in 2015. DC stopped right after this, around 2014. Dungeons and Dragons stopped at 2nd edition. I know. And Star Wars stopped after Return of the Jedi. There you go. All right, I'm a crazy old ranting man, but my wife wants to go food shopping. So happy Memorial Day, everybody. And yes, that contest is real. When I get to 200 subscribers, I'm going to launch, and any of those comics that I had doubles of, if you're the first person to send me a direct message on Twitter, you got it. I will mail it to you. Okay? All right. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.